Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Nectar of Instruction, today we are starting new verse, verse 2. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo nimagraha jansangascha lolyam cha shadvir bhaktir vinashyati. So first verse we discussed Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam. So if somebody can control these six urges, then one can make progress spiritually. But even if one controls those six urges, if one, in this verse, these are called Shad Dosha, six faults, or six activities. If he involves in these, he'll spoil his devotional service. So what are those? One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following six activities. One is eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, atyahara. Then second, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, prayasascha. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, atyaha prayasascha prajalapa. And then four, niyamagraha, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Then associating associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And last six, lolyam cha, being greedy for mundane achievements. So if somebody wastes his time in all this, then again his devotion service will be spoiled. And looking at this list, and when we go through the commentary, purport, description, we'll see how much time we waste in all this. We all do. And that's why it's just difficult to make progress. So Prabhupada writes, human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Opening statement, Prabhupada just clears everything up. Human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. And what we are doing, or what in general people have done, high living and plain thinking, or even plain thinking is too much, no more thinking. High living, just show off that I am this or I am that. Whether we have taken everything in our house on loan, or whether the house itself is on loan. But high living, high standard has to be showed off. And plain thinking, it's a simple thinking, eat, drink, and be merry. That's my philosophy. But that's not human life is meant for. Human life is meant for plain living, very simple living, and should be high thinking. But no. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. See, Prabhupada first gives the background of. It would look like, well, what has got to do with the shloka? But no, Prabhupada will come back to that. He's making a background of what he's going to talk about. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, so he'll describe what are those three energies. This material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. obliged to work. One has to work. But even while working, one can live simply and commit to high thinking, but we don't. So what happens? What are these three energies? The Supreme Personality of Godhead has three primary energies or potencies. Actually, he has unlimited energy, but they can be divided into three categories. The first is called the Antaranga Shakti or the internal potency. So that is the internal potency or the spiritual potency. The second is called the Tatastha Shakti or the marginal potency. The third is called Bahiranga Shakti or the external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency. So we come under Tatastha Shakti. We always remain in Tatastha Shakti. Of course, when we move to the spiritual world, when we go back home, back to Godhead, then we have chosen to remain in the spiritual energy of the Lord, and we have taken shelter of the Lord, so we remain under the spiritual energy, but we don't become spiritual energy. We always remain marginal potency. So the living entities constitute the marginal potency, and they're situated between the internal and external potencies. Being subordinate as the eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Jivatmas, or the atomic living entities, must remain, see, Prabhupada making sure it must remain under the control of either the internal or external potency. So Jivatma, we think we are somebody very big. We are independent. We are the Lord of everything we survey. We are the controllers of everything. Nah. Either we'll remain under the control of internal, Yogamaya, or external potency, Mahamaya. Simple as that. It's up to us. So when they are under the control of the internal potency, they display their natural constitutional activity, namely constant engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. So when we are, right now we are struggling to remain in the devotional service. When we are completely under the control, then we are constantly engaged. So right now, whenever we do devotional service, then we come under Yogamaya. Then we are getting connected with Krishna. Otherwise, we are under Mahamaya, always. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Devim Prakritim Ashrita Bhayanti Ananya Manaso Gyatva Bhutadhim Avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, mean those who are not in illusion, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. Devim Prakritim Ashrita. Devi Prakriti. They have taken shelter of my Devi, Mam Partha. Those are the Mahatmas. Of course, Prabhupada did mention people just call somebody Mahatma. But according to Bhagavad Gita and according to Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, he said, those who have taken shelter of my divine nature, they are Mahatmas. Otherwise, they are not Mahatmas. They cannot be called Mahatmas. And they are fully engaged in devotional service, Bhajanti Ananya Manaso, because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Gyatva Bhut Adim Avyayam. So they know me as Supreme Lord. So they engage in devotional service, and they are supposed to be called Mahatmas. And what happens to the entities who are not under the control of internal potency, or who are under the control of Mahamaya, external potency? Prabhupada further writes, the word Mahatma refers to those who are broad-minded, not cripple-minded. Wow. Now, where does this come from? What is broad-minded and what is cripple-minded? So Prabhupada says, cripple-minded persons always engage in satisfying their senses, sometimes expand their activities in order to good for others through some ism like nationalism, humanitarianism, or altruism. So cripple-minded, or another word is miserly weakness that Arjun said. I'm being controlled by the miserly weakness. I've forgotten what is my duty. You tell me. So cripple-minded means they have very myopic view, very limited understanding of who they are and what they're supposed to do. So what they do, they only think of themselves as this body. That's it. And they want to do good for others because this is the thought. So they do it through nationalism, humanitarianism, or altruism because they cannot think beyond that. They may reject personal sense gratification for the sense gratification of others, like the members of their family, community, or society, either national or international. All these activities are extended sense gratification. Prabhupada, his commentaries are amazing. Extended sense gratification. Now, what is extended sense gratification? And what is could be personal sense gratification? So, as Prabhupada says, they may reject personal sense gratification because suppose somebody wants to do something for the society, or even go a little bit closer than that. Somebody wants to do something for the place he's living in, for the apartment complex, Resident Welfare Association. So he gives up his personal sense gratification, which could be like sitting at home, watching TV, and just doing some activities. And then he goes out. No, okay, let me take care of the residents. Let me make a committee so we take care of the cleanliness of the roads in our society, or this or that. So he feels good that he has done something. But what is that something? Again, it's not based on devotional service to Krishna. It is based on, Prabhupada says, extended sense gratification. He's not gratifying his senses personally, like we all have 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, but by doing these activities, he feels good. So it gives comfort or satisfaction to the mind. And in the process, he's giving service to others also. So then if somebody grows beyond that, from his community or the society is living, then his city, he might do something for the city, for the community, for the people in the city, then to the district level, then maybe to the state level, then maybe to the national level, then maybe to the international. But it is still not serving Krishna. It doesn't make him connected with the Lord. There is no yoga happening with the Lord. He is doing service to the society. And Prabhupada says all these activities are extended sense gratification. It just makes me feel good. It doesn't mean these activities are bad. Prabhupada says these activities may all be very good from the material point of view, but they have no spiritual value. The basis of such activities is sense gratification, either personal or extended. Wow. So then there are organizations like United Nations, so United Health Organization, or whatever, United or Universal Children's Education, or like there was earthquake recently in Syria and Turkey, so people went there to help those, which is good, nothing wrong. But Prabhupada saying, but they have no spiritual value, of course, at the same time. One who is spiritually advanced doesn't mean he will not help the society. Suppose we are doing our services and we see somebody lying on the road and needs help, we should go and help. But the consciousness is different. Consciousness is, yes, this person is suffering, let me help. He's also Krishna's part and parcel. And by helping him, I can pray to Krishna to take him under his shelter, or I can help him some way, giving him prasadam or giving him some kind of association somehow, so he can also become Krishna conscious. The consciousness of the server is different, but the consciousness of people who are not spiritually advanced, when they are helping others, or as Prabhupada said, like the members of their own family. A person is working hard to make money, and so the kids can go to better college and have a better career. So the idea is relationship on the bodily level only, nothing on the soul level. But a devotee, we can also work hard for his family, for his community, so that they all can become Krishna conscious, to help them in that way. So that is spiritual level. So to differentiate between the two, Prabhupada, the basis of such activities is sense gratification, either personal or extended. Only when a person gratifies the senses of the Supreme Lord can he be called a Mahatma, or a broad-minded person. So how to gratify the senses of the Supreme Lord? And of course, Prabhupada used this term as gratify the senses of the Supreme Lord, or actually sense gratification comes for our use. For him, it is pleasing him. It can be considered gratifying the senses, but it's more like pleasing the Supreme Lord. How do we please the Supreme Lord? Or how do we please anybody? By doing what he's asking us to do. Then he's happy. Simple as that. And how does Krishna become happy? He has told us in Bhagavad Gita, Manmanabha madhvakto madhyaji mam namaskar. Do these 4 things. Or patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. Just do these things, and I'll be happy. But it's because we have limited understanding. We try to do things and think Manav Seva is Madhav Seva. Well, Manav Seva can be Madhav Seva if we do the Manav Seva according to what Madhav wants us to do, not what we want. We think this will make Krishna happy. In the above quoted verse from Bhagavad Gita, which one? The Mahatmanastu Mam Bharat. The words Devim Prakritim refers to the control of the internal potency. Now, internal potency is also divided into 3, Samvit, Sandhini, and Hladani. But Prabhupada here comes to straight to the Hladani potency, or the pleasure-giving, pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This pleasure potency is manifested as Srimati Radharani, or her expansion Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. So in Vaikuntha, she is Lakshmi. In Golok Vrindavan, she is Radharani. And Lakshmi, as Prabhupada says, is her expansion. When the individual Jiva souls are under the control of the internal energy, their only engagement is the satisfaction of Krishna or Vishnu. They don't want to satisfy, they don't want to please anybody else, only Krishna or Vishnu. This is the position of a Mahatma. If one is not a Mahatma, Prabhupada becomes heavy here. He is a Duratma, or a cripple-minded person. Cripple. Cripple means miserly. He cannot think beyond some limited understanding of the existence of his own existence. Such mentally crippled Duratmas are put under the control of the Lord's external potency, which is Mahamaya. So they are put under control of Mahamaya. So if somebody still, even in material world, somebody likes to serve others, and he is very pious person, materially pious, and he is helping others. So, and Prabhupada used that word also, extended sense gratification. There is another meaning of that. So what will happen if somebody is helping others? Well, when he leaves this body, he'll go to heaven because he has done so many pious activities. And what will happen in heaven? In heaven, he will enjoy his life. There is sense gratification of a much, much higher degree than we can find on earth. But the problem in heaven is they live there for 100 years, but according to earth, it could be 10,000 or more than 10,000 years. But once the bank balance of those pious activities are over, they fall back into the material, or fall back onto earth. Kshine punne marte lokam vishanti. So again, this is cripple-minded persons that we work hard to help others in this lifetime, and then we enjoy. It's all material, there's nothing spiritual, and then come back again to start all over. What's the point? We should be thinking beyond that, should be thinking in terms of high thinking and simple living. So, well, I guess I can stop at or start the next paragraph now. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
I have a question about this sense gratification. What I have learned over the years, maybe from different sources, maybe not from the right sources, level of service, there's a level of service, as you said, where we are expecting or we think we are getting some gratification. But then there is something called a higher purpose in life, where those things don't mean anything to you. Even, you need to say, even that doesn't fall under the purview of Prabhupada, what they are saying. Like, you're still looking for gratification only, even if it's a higher purpose.
But it gives satisfaction to our mind, right?
It depends. If you're totally disconnected, you just do the work. Your work is worship. You just do it and just move on. there is no joy out of that, or no, dejection if it's not done. If it's done, you don't get any kind of a kick out of it in loose terms, and you
I
have done
mean,
it and you move on.
of course you move on, we move on, but doing what? Helping some poor people, or helping, or doing some service in the community.
Yeah,
That's what you mean?
yeah.
Yeah. So even if we are not looking for any mental peace or any mental satisfaction, we just move on. But it is recorded somewhere, right? Somebody is recording it. Higher authorities, which, as we know from Bhagavatam, is Chitragupt, who's assistant of Yamarajji. He records everything, pious and impious activities that we do. He records everything. So even if we don't know, or even if we do, sometimes we do Gupta Dan, we don't want receipt, we don't want anybody to know, but somebody is recording it. And we will get the results of that. The result of those pious activities is one gets to enjoy either in this world or in heavenly planet. But this is what Prabhupada is saying. No? So this is what Krishna is saying, that Mahatmanas means those who have taken shelter of my internal potency. I'm not saying this is wrong to do pious activity. There's nothing wrong, but it's not the best. Do the pious activity with the right.
What would be the best example of what Lord Krishna is trying to tell us? So just an example, like what is it that we do to get the spiritual kind of service?
Well, that comes in Bhagavad Gita, where he says, and this verse comes twice in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Think of me, Manmana, mad bhakto, become my devotee, madhyaji, worship me, mam namaskuru means pay obeisances unto me. And by doing that, you will come to me. Means you will come back to the spiritual world. He doesn't say don't do pious activities, but this is the best thing to do. If you cannot do this, then in 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 8th through 12th verses, something like that, he says, okay, you cannot give your mind to me, then work for me. It cannot work for me. Give some results of a work for me. Cannot do this, then do some jnana. If you cannot do, then do this. But best is think of me always.
Okay,
so and that thinking can only help.
So the self-gratification that, the service you are doing, a selfless, or doing a service of higher order, and thinking of Lord Krishna can be done parallelly, right? It doesn't stop, either doesn't stop from doing the other thing, right? So I can be thinking of Lord Krishna all the time, and doing like a spiritual service, but I can also be serving others at the same time, right? Being doing it parallel, or is it not possible?
Okay, so thinking of Krishna cannot just happen automatically. We have to work on it, first of all. So, and secondly, I mean, yes, one has to serve others, no doubt about it. I'm not saying nobody's against that, but serving others in what consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
And with what mentality we are serving others? Mentality to uplift them spiritually? That should be the mentality, right? And there is another problem in just helping others. In just helping is always good, no doubt. I'm not against that. Nobody's against that. Suppose somebody is, say, begging on the street, and we, out of compassion, because spiritual people are always compassionate, they give, okay, this person looks very needy. Let me give him 10 rupees and let him have some food or something. What if he takes those 10 rupees and instead of getting some food, he goes and takes some bread. So he buys a knife and kills somebody. Are we going to get that karma? Some part of that karma?
Well, I would debate that at a different level. Now, there will be a conflict between what my heart says and what my brain says. My brain always says not to give money to a beggar. That's kind of a material thing. I would rather buy him food, you know. So money can be misused, and in most cases it does. It is. So
okay, buying him food. If we buy him non-veg food, if he says just buy me a burger from McDonald's, are we going to get that karma of buying that non-veg food? We will, right? Some karma will get.
well, yeah. Again, that would be a debate.
Right. So that's
in
the
my
problem. So to help them spiritually, that's helping has to be done. We have to help others.
Mhm.
But we have to learn how to help them spiritually. That's all. That's all. Of course, further we go along, it will be more clear.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you all. Hare Krishna. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Jai Shri
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.